So I wanted to take all those input and summarize that into discussions where we can talk about, okay, what's next for next 5 years? What are the different technologies we should focus on? What are the different solution innovation that we need to keep in mind as we go from now to, let's say, 2015, 2016? So that's my topic, mobility shift, next 5 in 5. Well, before we start talking about the future, let's look back 5 years before. In 2007, that's when we had our iPhone release. That really changed the industries. The same year, Google also announced the Android operating system and created an alliance that brought a lot of the device makers and the carriers all into one open hand alliance. And that really created the consumer-facing smartphone phenomenon. And then with the App Store, basically it became very simple for everybody to go and find applications. Before that, obviously, RIM had huge success into the enterprise areas, but consumers were not really sure how to use their mobile devices for their day-to-day need. At the same time, in 2007, IBM's Global Technology Outlook, they said mobile is going to be one of the top 5 innovations that will change our life. It also goes on and say our mobile phones will come close to reading our mind. Well, we're not quite there yet, 5 years later. However, we have made a lot of progress to learn some of the lessons while we build, think, and design mobile applications that we can apply next 5 years and build solutions that will probably take us closer to make our mobile phones reading our mind. So the landscape is still maturing, but we're learning a lot because we really had our first 5 years building smartphone type of applications that anybody can download from anywhere. And we learned a lot. We learned user experience is very important. We learned that we should design for one task at a time. We learned that you're really building a platform. You're not just building tactical me-too applications, because if you do that, it probably won't last too long into user's device. So you need to create a platform that meets your immediate need as well as lays the foundation for future mobile applications. Now, taking into all those learnings, let's talk about some of the 5 trends that I'm going to discuss here that will sweep us for the next 5 years. First one, there's no surprise, is context-oriented mobile applications. So first, our focus was how to bring our internet to mobile devices, but that's not where we have to stop, because mobile devices offer unique features and functionality that you could never get from your desktop, such as locations, being able to have access to my contact list, the ability to send asynchronously push notifications that can engage us proactively without us really taking out the device or waiting for something, just like phone calls. So what I call this is solo no. So you probably heard Mary Meeker's presentation where she calls the trend solo mo, but we're talking about mobile, so I replace mo with no because it's social, location, and notification. Those are the key things that are going to give us the user context and that will allow us to proactively engage with our users. So within social landscape, basically, we can collect users' profile and preferences. We have access to their contact list and social networks. Merging all those data, we can learn a lot about their behaviors and their preferences. Same with their location, where they want to go, where they are, what are their patterns of travel. Those information can help us. And key to all this is notifications, because again, we really want to engage our users even when they're not running our applications, because that's how you really get into basically within their mobility, you enhance their mobility with your offer. Here's a screenshot that I did with my friend. He's actually present here today, where he uses the latest feature of iOS 5 Siri. And both of us were running my friend's application that came out with iOS 5, which is proactively always monitoring our locations. And I can use part of my social contact to allow them access to my location. So all he had to do is really take the iPhone, say, Siri, where is Ashek? And it really showed him where I was. Luckily, it was an afternoon time. I was at the IBM office, so no harm done. So what you see here is I was fairly comfortable sharing my location with my friends. That's because there is good privacy control here. If I want, I can turn that feature off. I can customize to who I really want to see my locations. And as we enhance this type of privacy, user will opt in for more of these functions. Some of the other things that the device OS is doing, and iOS 5 release is actually a great example. When you download it, it may not be obvious to you what really changed in the OS, but a lot has changed in the background by bringing the location, social, and notification context really integrated with the core OS. So now you can really build these context-oriented applications that can leverage these features very easily. So right now, I would say if you're building an application next year, you should really think about bringing some of those contexts into your application. Otherwise, you may not be able to call your application best of breed. Another great thing about the context-orientedness is there's a lot of open standards. Most of the mapping APIs, most of the social networks, and the type of data they provide, you can easily access that with open standard web services type of call. So it's very easy to integrate them. However, we do need to keep in mind that if we really want to proactively engage our users and give them relevant information, there's a lot of data we really need to map. We need to map their patterns. We need to understand when we should give them what, because you don't want to bombard them with information that is not relevant to them. So we need to really think about our backend where we can process these complex events and really analyze data and give them the information, recognizing the patterns of their usage. And so what that will really help that is crowdsourcing, being able to capture users' information as we are going. A perfect example is the CP24 apps or the Google Maps. As we travel with our phone and the location being turned on, it really captures the traffic flows. And that's why now in Google Maps, when you go, you can see the show traffic and red when there's a lot of traffic. That's because a lot of people using their phones and traveling there, and Google Maps is being able to capture those information. So by 2015, Gartner says about 40% of the mobile applications will basically, most of the application will have context, and 40% of the users will be fairly comfortable using this type of application and giving access. That's about 10% of the world's population. And here is a screenshot that you can see how iPhone is bringing all the different messages and notification into one screen now. That way, basically, you can really combine the different data points into one locations, and the users can really proactively be engaged. My next trend, no surprise here again, physical convergence of mobile services. Again, mobile really offers us unique technologies that will allow us to interact with our physical surroundings. And with our physical surroundings also becoming much more instrumented. So with the intelligent mobile device, instrumented physical surrounding, we can really interconnect with them fairly easily. And some of the key themes that are here is definitely NFC or near-field communications, biometrics recognitions, as well as augmented reality. So NFC is probably something we heard a lot about recently. There's a lot of buzz around it. In 2008, when I was doing my research, it says by 2010, 50% of the phones will have NFC. So not yet. Now we are predicting by 2015, NFC will be the #1 used technology for mobile payment. That means you'll have a chip on your device, and it's going to enable you to pay on a payment terminal. But that's not the only thing you can use NFC for. You can really use NFC for a lot of other features, such as some of the marketing and content sharing. In fact, the latest OS that Google announced, Android 4.0, Ice Cream Sandwich, is going to have features called Android Beam, where you can really just bump your Android phone with the other user's Android phone and just share the website that you are looking at or the application or the game you're running. So there's a lot of use cases of NFC that goes beyond payment. Biometric recognition is definitely getting better with every year. Like the Siri with the iOS 5 is a great example of being able to talk to your phone, and it really understands you and provides you with the relevant information. Image recognition is also picking up. Again, Google showed Android Face. That will be part of 4.0, they say, which will use basically facial recognition to basically give you access to your phone's feature. And touch is something, obviously, now we expect, right? We expect our applications to be able to really behave the way we naturally use our gestures and really learn and adapt to that. One other thing that's very important for physical convergence is augmented reality, which is basically being able to look through our phone and look into our surrounding as being able to map data that are relevant to that. There's few ways you can do augmented reality. Definitely, you probably have seen some of the application where you look through your phone's camera and it lays informations. Like, okay, you are looking at this particular location, or as you look at north-south, these are the restaurants based on your liking. There's another way augmented reality will pick up. People are doing a lot of research around bringing this lens, where you can look through lens, and it will actually overlay information into the physical surrounding. And again, as our surrounding is more instrumented and technology picks up, you may see more and more of that type of features coming out within the next 5 years. So what will enable all this? Definitely hardware is important within our device, as well as different sensors within our physical surroundings would be very important. Open standards. That's something I would say is holding back NFCs a little bit, because there's still confusion around the ecosystem. Definitely mobile payment is a big market, billions of dollar market, and there's a race right now, right? So who is really going to own this thing? Is it the banks, the carriers, the device makers, right? Or is it just the neutral service providers? And where does the merchant fit in? Who's actually selling the service? So as this ecosystem is getting flushed out, and we're definitely making a lot of improvements on that. There's a lot of alliance being formed. And some of those prototypes are being deployed in North America. And next year, there's really going to be some critical mass around some of these prototypes. And that will really help us shape the ecosystem. But my recommendation is, let's try to use open standards as much as possible, because if you think about it, mobile really didn't take off until we were able to use open web standards to interact with our backend applications. And another important piece here is being able to really earn the trust of the user. So we really have to be the trusted service manager. Definitely things like payment. There are confusions and doubts in users' mind. Is this thing secure enough? How do I really know that the money went in the right places? And real-time feedback will be really important. So being able to really tell users right away that, yes, your transaction happened and here's the receipt will go a long way for a user to feel comfortable and being able to use this type of features. We can't really wait for a monthly bill to show up a month later to get feedback on those transactions. Okay? So again, by 2005, the prediction is 5% of the 5% of the mobile population will use NFC type of solutions to do mobile payment. And emerging countries, this may be the primary way to do payment and banking type of transactions. The next feature that we'll talk about is cloud-based implementation. And again, this is really taking our standard software as a service model and really adding some new hooks on top of it to make it mobile friendly. The core to the cloud-based mobile implementation is really unlocking our data. And we have a lot of corporate data that are within our enterprise. We really need to think about, do we want to put those things on the cloud? However, there are a lot of opportunities in the consumer side where we can really combine data for multiple enterprises and even mashing them up and provide users one common central application that feeds into a lot of their needs of mobile services. So different type of cloud models, obviously. Software as a service is something fairly common, and we see it fairly often, being able to really allow users to access your data without having to download content that needs to reside on the device. This really takes care of a lot of the security type of implications, because you're not really storing anything on the device. You authenticate, you access information. When you're done your session, the information is gone. Another thing that's becoming popular is platform as a service. That way, you can really quickly build up a cloud solution or rent a cloud infrastructure where all the software stacks you need to unlock your data is already there. And it's really important, because that way the business can truly focus on the applications and the use cases that you need to bring those mobile services to life. And you don't need to really worry about ramping up the hardware and the software stacks to bring those solutions to the user's hand. And there's a private model, public model. You can share a cloud space with other companies, or you can get your own dedicated. Definitely there's some advantage of going public, cloud because, for the cost. However, you really need to understand what they're offering you in terms of data security. There's a term that is fairly popular in cloud called multi-tenancy. That means how multiple people can reside into same cloud infrastructure. Multiple business could be competitors too, have their own data share, and how do you really assure that those data are not shared or exposed with other enterprises. Then mashup is becoming fairly popular, where you really see it with the social networks. You can go to one common place. I can see my Facebook feeds. I can see my Twitter feeds. Combine that with my LinkedIn information. Get one central view of my social network. Or a lot of the social network APIs gets embedded as we read news and stuff. We can easily do Facebook-like. This type of mashups are becoming more and more popular, and cloud is going to help enable those type of features. Netflix is a great example. That's really showing how business model is changing based on cloud type of implementations. A lot of us, since Netflix came to town about 6 months ago, stopped watching TV quite a bit because it's very easy. I can access Netflix from my TV, my PS3, my Wii, my iPad, my PSP, my Android devices. The new Lenovo has Netflix built into it. Pretty much, whichever device I want. So the choice as control is really with me. When I'm in bed, I can use my iPad. When I'm with my family, I can use my PS3 on the big screen. So again, being able to give users that control is going to be enabled by a lot of these cloud type of solutions, and we need to keep that in mind. The other things where cloud is going to help us is rapid provisioning of our service. Let's say I'm just building an application just for a bank or an airline. Oftentimes, we need to think about, okay, to test this application, I need my data to be available over internet, because that's how mobile applications truly work. We access data over internet. And a lot of our enterprise data center is not really set up to be able to expose our data over internet. Cloud can come to the rescue. And we are really doing that with a lot of our projects. Within our own development sandbox, we use cloud, so quickly put things out there to do beta testing from a number of devices. And a lot of our clients are also going there to perform the QA and the acceptance testing. We quickly rent cloud solutions, put the solution there, and test it out from multiple devices. So think about cloud for even testing and QA of the application that you're building. And definitely, for us to be comfortable with this, security and policy orchestration is always important. And those type of standards are becoming more and more transparent. We're understanding those. Again, real-time stats going to be important because you want to really monitor your cloud usage and what am I paying and what am I paying for. Multi-tenancy, we talked about a little bit. And when we talk about mashups, content ownership is really important as well. So a lot of the telecoms carriers, as well as the TV channels, are now thinking about mashups and how they can bring their content with multiple devices. And they're trying to figure out how the advertising is going to work, who's going to own the right of the content. And all those things are going to shape up over the next couple of years. And we're going to see more and more cloud-based implementation where we don't really need to wait for the 9 o'clock TV show at 9 o'clock anymore. And again, some of the stats says about 240 million business customers will access cloud computing services via mobile devices by 2015. And here's a screenshot I have of Mint. Mint is an application that mashes up a lot of your banking information. So the thing that we are most paranoid about security, our financial information, Mint provides a read-only access to that through authorized banking channels. So you can download an app, put all my banking user ID passwords. If you feel comfortable with that, there's the terms and conditions there to read. And it will provide you read-only access. And you can really use this application to not just to check how much money I have, but to plan your mobility, plan your trips, plan your financial budgets. So this is a great example. And we're going to see more and more this type of example coming up based on cloud over the next 5 years. So those are some of the key technologies that will drive our mobile services implementation. So I wanted to talk for my next two trends around actually the users. So first one is the enterprise adoption of mobile devices. We talked a lot about that today. It's really being driven by the consumer behaviors. People are buying their own phones, and people are bringing their own phones. And to be honest, IT is losing controls where the policies are not being given by IT anymore. Policies are coming out of users' demand for the tablets and the smartphones they're bringing to work. We heard today work is not a place anymore. Work is really something we do. And that's why this enterprise mobility is one of the single biggest trends that's going to sweep our technology industries. It's the smartphones and the tablets we bring, if we're the corporate type of employees. But don't forget the field force also. These are the people that are in the field in nature. They are mobile in nature, and they're doing a lot of outdoor works. It could be basically an oil coupe, or I could be an insurance broker. I could be an airport worker working on the runway, and I will need ruggedized mobile solutions to be able to communicate effectively. And that's another area that is fairly important in the enterprise mobility landscape. Some of the core things that we need to keep in our mind, and we talked about that a lot today: mobile device management, the security policies, the platforms, how am I going to deploy? One thing we also need to keep in mind is not just device management, we also need to manage people's mobility itself. Because people are really being mobile as well as working in different type of shifts. What we do at IBM is there's really no 9 to 5 I must have to do. I just need to get my work done. And that means I may be working at midnight, I may be in a client location in daytime, I could be anywhere working anytime. And being able to access my information from anywhere, anytime will not only make me more productive, it will also cut a lot of the operational cost. And what's happening is today, our employees at the same time could possibly carrying 6 devices, right? My corporate BlackBerries with my fun iPhone, if my corporate is still not provisioning iPhone, my iPad with my tablets, my laptop, my GPS. So slowly what we're going to see, people are going to start dumping the 6 devices they're carrying, and they really would want to carry 1 or maximum 2 devices, 1 smartphone, 1 tablet. And what we're going to see within the next 5 years, for many workers, this tablet and smartphones will overtake their laptop usage. And we need to really prepare for that. And there will be the certain type of workforce that will not have the time and that will not be able to, in a location where they're seated enough, that they will want to use laptop, and we need to prepare for that. What will enable some of that is definitely wireless connectivity across, as we roam around the cities and in our office with the 4G and more availability of Wi-Fi is definitely going to help that. Allowing employees to bring their own device, or BYOD, we talked about that quite a bit today, is going to be a key enabler on that as well. So we need to prepare for that. Enterprise app stores, as we talked about, is something to keep in mind, because what we're going to see is we're going to bring a lot of our core applications like the expense solution. We do email, instant messaging, those are obvious ones. But my timesheet, my expense, looking up my network over work, those type of core applications will need to be quickly available to our sales force, to our field force, or to even our regular corporate workers. Another great use case is conferencing, right? How many of us doing meetings from all over the places, from our car and from different locations? So being able to do video and web and conferencing over mobile devices is going to be a key use case. And all this may be enabled over the next 5 years with some super device that comes out that will augment our current mobile device with additional features we haven't seen yet. I'm hoping for those holographic keyboards to pick up a little bit, so we can, because typing is one of the key things where we really go back to laptop. So over the next 5 years, we're going to see solutions that will come out and help the typing on these mobile devices. So either I attach my tablet to just the peripherals, or something gets projected out of my tablet that will allow me to type faster. But this is a big industry, and enterprise mobility, they're calling it like multi-billion dollar, $11 billion industry by 2016. So we need to keep that in mind. And last but not least, how did all this get started, and how did all this really gonna again being enabled by is the consumer. Consumer is at the center of everything, and the way consumer is using these mobile devices, that trend is really going to drive how the enterprises are enabling this. And the way consumer demands the mobile services, that is going to drive how Apple, RIM, and Google are bringing out different OS features, and how different the application builders and service providers are building these mobile applications, combining the different technologies we talked about today. So what we see today is mobile is really part of our daily transactions as we go from places to places. There's different touch points where we leverage mobility. We're not really thinking anymore desktop. We're not thinking anymore kiosk. We're just thinking, where am I right now, and what is the right device for me? So everything is a device. Everything is connected. That's what we're going to see over the next 5 years. And I'm going to be empowered so I can use whichever device that is more relevant to me at that moment. So as a consumer, that's what I'm looking for. So as a business, we need to be prepared for that. We need to, if we want to build customer loyalty, we need to improve our interaction with our consumer. So that's why consumer-facing mobile services perhaps will become one of the primary investment area for business and IT over the next 5 years. And to enable that, to really create the services, the right services that our consumer would want, we need to capture a lot of data about our consumer and being able to analyze that. So having those type of business intelligence will really allow us to make correct decisions. So if we are not doing it already, let's start putting those stats tracking and social business type of market analysis within our mobile solutions. And every 6 months, look at those data and make decisions based on that. And whatever decision you make right now, validate that every 6 months, because it's such a rapidly changing landscape. Whatever we're thinking now, my top 5 trends that I'm talking about, next year if we come back again, maybe I'm going to say, you know what, I completely didn't talk about some of those key technologies like that lens that I'm going to put on I'm going to come next year with these goggles, and we're going to have actually the slide projected out of my goggles. So there's going to be the technology that are coming up that we may not be prepared for. So every 6 months, we really need to analyze this mobile landscape. But regardless, the technology cost is going down. The interfaces are becoming natural. The users are becoming much more comfortable using different devices. So we really need to think about building these mobile services and bring these services rapidly. So let's not design our mobile solutions for 1 year. Let's work on quick, small mobile projects, 4 to 6 months in nature, and just learn from it. Capture data, learn from it. If you don't get it right first time, the consumer will tell you what to do. And basically, just think about things as cross-channel. Don't think multi-channel anymore. Don't think, I have to build things, a website first, then mobile. Just think about the consumer, think about your use case, and just figure out what fits the best. It could be mobile, it could be web, it could be a mashup of all that. So there you have it. Those are the top 5 technological trends and mobile solution trends I wanted to discuss today. I know there was nothing earth-shattering there. Probably most of the things we have already been discussing a lot. But I really believe we need to nail those top 5 over the next 5 years, because only then we'll be that much closer to make mobile phones read our mind. Thank you.